Salutations, Ginger League, and welcome to Super Geeked, where we discuss, as always, the latest news on all things super. Moi. Okay, I lie. I'm your host, Susan Sutton, and joining me this week, as always, are Andrew Danny and Kevin Tierney. Gentle dogs, how are you today?
Yeah, you take the lead on this one because my answer will be the normal of tired.
I'm not too bad. I've not slept properly in the past week, but I'm just sort of remembering back to my insomniac days when I could, be awake for like 3 weeks and then just go, I'll have a kip. Then an hour later I'm back up and out.
Oh man,
Why haven't you been sleeping?
I don't know. I think it's just the insomnia is coming back. It comes and goes with the migraines. So if I get a migraine, I'll be able to sleep. If I'm not sleeping, migraines are more than likely to come. So it's like a migraine's trying to come and hit me, and it's like, I don't want you, go away.
Well, if that's the case and you're staying up for God knows how long, I've got a lot of content you can edit for me. But because I would kill for some sleep right now. It's been work wise 3 14-hour days on the trot, and I am like, I'm hanging. I was like, hey, message before we came on. I'm like, I'm actually half asleep here. Went to put Alison's dinner in the microwave, and the kitchen door was open, and I walked into the kitchen door. That's just how we shouldn't be laughing, but it is funny. It's funny when people get hurt.
Well, I went and had my COVID booster. Boo snuffs to anyone watching this that is anti-vax. I don't care.
It's funny.
So I went and had my COVID booster today. That's my third one. And yeah, my third booster or second booster. I've had 3 vaccinations, and I think it's my second booster, and my flu jab. And the one with my left arm, I had the COVID one in, and that's really achy. Really sore.
Yeah,
I got a little rest.
Well, she's so busy now that she's a superstar talk show host. I know. I can't say anything else because of NDA.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was sitting on the bus coming home from the town today, and as you do, to pass the time, and because the bus was so full, if you look anywhere, people think they're staring at you. So I kind of just looked down at my phone, opened up Facebook, and I'm scrolling through, and it's just my face that keeps coming up on these posts. And I thought, oh my God. And then the woman sitting next to me, she was looking at my phone. How very dare she?
Yeah, exactly.
Out the window. But she looked at my phone, and then I saw her look at me. I just went like that.
You should just be like, yes, and well, that's the advantage of the gentle dorks. We don't engage with anybody. We just kind of keep to our own. Like we just mostly our faces just look downwards.
Yep.
So we are okay with that. Anyway, there's been some interesting superhero news that has dropped over the course of time. So, Susan, please give us the first topic of discussion that we can dive into.
Right. Well, with more supernatural beings and entities being introduced to the MCU, do you think it's time for the Ghost Rider to be introduced? And if so, which one?
Okay, I'm going to let you float this one. Again, you sourced the questions for us. Thank you very much.
Yep.
What do you think? And bear in mind, we've had Nicolas Cage.
We have. I think Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider would fit right in, actually. To be honest, it would fit right in with the sheer stupidity of a lot of the things that's happening. He would fit in perfectly.
Oh man.
Why?
Or you could even have him plus Robbie Reyes.
Yeah, I would more
both.
go Robbie Reyes for the kind of MCU style, but as Susan's asked why Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider would fit, because the MCU right now is at the phase where it's all multiverse stuff, where everything's kind of crossing over with each other, and it's getting a bit bonkers. And Nicolas Cage is like the king of bonkers, as you know.
Yep.
He did 2 Ghost Rider films. Like, have no idea how he got a sequel, but it somehow did. Where he went even more Nicolas Cage than the Wicker Man bees scene, which I was discussing on the Ginger Scaredy Cat podcast, and their plug for our new stuff. But so yeah, I would say, well, I have to agree with you, Kev, in that sense. He could fit with that, but I do think he would maybe try and play it too straight as well, because he'd be going into MCU thinking, right, I've got to watch what I'm doing. Whereas I'd be like, just go nuts. Get him in Deadpool 3.
That's what I was thinking. He could show up there.
Great minds think alike.
Could you imagine him showing up with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman?
Yes,
that
really
would
could.
Just insanity ensues just with A3.
Oh man, what? See if any MCU execs are ever come across this, they'll be like, why didn't we think of this?
You heard it here first. You want commission, you want royalties.
Of course we do. We got to make that dollar, baby. We got to make that Fredo money. I've had to downgrade to a Milky Bar for Tesco. Yes, he's got the merch on. He's got the merch on. Finally.
I'm not going to show you my chest. That's for another time.
Yeah. We still need to get your sizes for an official T-shirt. Well, the merch store does cater for men, women, children, whole shebang.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say the merch store does cater for larger sizes.
I would not risk my life saying that. Not a
You know,
chance.
I used to go out with a guy that was a spitting image of Nicolas Cage, and that was a few years ago. And funnily enough, he actually sent me a private message a few days ago to wish me happy birthday. And I was like, wow, this was a blast from the past. I mean, I loved that guy. And so I knew that, well, basically he dumped me for another woman who he married, which is fine, story of my life. I'm just such a horrible person. But
I think, though, in that sense, you'd rather that they dumped you for somebody and they stuck with it, rather than it being like just a cheap, like, kind of, they would think, oh, it's going to be great. It lasts a couple of months, it burns out. Like, one of my brother's first girlfriend cheated on with his best mate's cousin. And I thought, holy fuck, this is brutal. But they've been together for like almost like 20 years. So it's like, okay, fair dues.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. There's people either for you or not for you. And what's the point of hanging on to something that isn't? But yeah, it brought lots of memories back. And, he's still married and, he seems very, very happy. So I'm really pleased for him. But oh my God, it's a bit of a shock. But yeah, in a way, he was my superhero at the time. But we'll get back on topic. I blame you for bringing up Nicolas Cage.
Hey, I was just thinking, because Nicolas Cage had went through a lot of financial difficulties and was bankrupt, are you sure it wasn't actually Nicolas Cage that you dated?
What, living in Glasgow in Paisley?
He had no money.
He had nothing. Yeah.
He had absolutely nothing. He could have been living in Airdrie and people would have thought, okay, fair dues.
That's why like a lot of films he did was like just complete trash. But he needed the money because
he had to do it. Yeah,
his accountant had stole all his money, and he's like,
stole his money, a lot of bad investments, and he's had to crawl his way back to kind of where he is now. And thank goodness, we've missed our Nicolas Cage, and we'll be getting back to our Nicolas Cage moments at some point when we get back to Super Fights.
Yep.
Let's jump into the next topic. We're always on a timer.
Yeah, the next topic is like next year is the 30th anniversary of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, word is Netflix are doing a new series or movie. What are your thoughts on that? I know Frank McGowan will be delighted.
I was so hoping he would have came on as a guest tonight because Kevin had sourced that question, but sadly, like, him being a bigwig, he does have meetings and occasionally a life. So I do understand why he couldn't make it. But yeah, the second I saw that question, I was like, is this legit? And then looked and like, oh, wait, it might actually be legit.
Yep.
So what was your thoughts when you saw it, Kev?
I was just shocked that it's the 30th anniversary. I just realized, wow, I'm actually going to be 40 next year because it started when I was 10. And then it's like, wait a minute, 30? No, wait, nah, I'm going to be 40,
Yeah.
so I.
Yeah,
And
'cause I would
David
have been, what,
Yost,
5 or I would have been 5 or 6 when it first came out as well. So yeah, you just look at it, you're like, fuck me.
so I saw a thing, David Yost, the original Blue Ranger. He
Yeah,
put up a thing saying about the 30th anniversary. They're in New Zealand right
yeah.
now, doing something for it. It's like, what?
Because I can't remember the Black Ranger's name, but he turned up in like the post as well, didn't he? What can you talk about?
Walter Jones.
Yeah, and the original Yellow Ranger, who sadly passed away, her daughter is supposedly going to be joining the franchise, which I think is really cool. And a nice wee tribute to her, obviously to her mum.
Yeah. But I don't know about Netflix doing a new series. I mean, it's like the Power Rangers have been up and down and up and down, and the past few iterations have just slowly went down, and now it's Hasbro. It's not a Saban, it's Hasbro that own them. So they'll be making the money, and it's like, well, we know that Hasbro literally just put out anything so they can sell toys.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
what
what
the new Power Rangers
for God knows how many years.
Exactly, and they're still doing it. There's another one coming out in 2 years.
Well,
I find it funny that I find it funny that recently I've been going out and doing street interviews for various things, and one of the topics was, about TV. One of the questions was, what do you think there's too much of on TV or film now? And just about every single person that I interviewed said it's too many rehashes of things that were from years ago. It's about time there was new content comes out. So although the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is, or was a huge thing, and to some people still is, do you think it is a good idea to bring it out yet again? Although, like you say, for Hasbro, it's all about selling the merch. It's all about the money. But do you think you'll go and see it if it's made into a movie?
I didn't even see the one that they done in 2017 with Bryan Cranston, and I'm a big fan of his as an actor. So I was like, nope, I'm out. I was like, I had my original cheese. I was good.
I did see the 2017 one, and I can understand why it never got a sequel. It was underwhelming. It was rushed. I think it felt rushed. And it's like, if they'd spent more time building the characters and the story, rather than just, right, we need to push this so we can get the sequel, so we can get the trilogy. And it's like, take your time with things. You don't need to rush them. People will wait.
Somewhere right now, Frank McGowan's head is exploding. I will tag him in the socials when this drops so he can look at this.
I have a feeling I might get fired.
No, this is my show, so I'll be the one that gets the can.
Right, okay, let's move on then to Harrison Ford. Now, he's rumoured to take over the late William Hurt as General Ross. Do you think it's right to recast?
No. I do not think it's right. If they're going down, like I said, Marvel's in the multiverse kind of territory now, so basically any actor can come and play any role as long as they look similar. They could call back like the Ed Norton Hulk or the Ed Banner Hulk. They could call them back and be like, "Oh, multiverse, bound for cameo, bye." If it's to permanently replace, no. For one, Harrison Ford's been too old for this shit since he was 30. There was just that he had and they're all about like interviews and stuff in the MCU. Harrison Ford has no time for any of that. He is one of the grisliest bumblefucks I have ever seen on TV. As an actor, brilliant actor, but he doesn't want to deal with the press, and rightly so. His time is precious. He's married to Calista Flockhart. He needs to keep banging before he dies. Fair dues. So his time, just let him go with it. And I don't want him to be thought of as the recast guy, because he recast Bruce Willis's part in the Expendables films, which was all the 80s throwbacks with Stallone and Schwarzenegger and stuff. He took over from Bruce Willis. It was a different character, but he took over his role. So you don't want him to now be known as that guy who just jumps into something. It's like, I'm here, give me the money, see you later. I'm like, we have enough of them. Just
Yeah.
leave the
Maybe it should be
character
a
be.
case of maybe it should be a case of like with Doctor Who. Every so often, there's a brand new Doctor Who. So maybe General Ross should be like that. The alternative Doctor Who for a different actor to play it every time there's a new one comes out. You can always tell me to shut up, Susan.
We just what I just like hearing this and knowing that there'll be some nerds out there that will be like, why the fuck have you brought her on? And this is the sole reason why. You're the normie that keeps us in line. We need that. What do you think, Kev, about the Harrison Ford thing?
Well, I mean, what I think is great, bring in Harrison Ford. He's a different general. He's not the only general in the world that's looking for the Hulk or that's been looking to take down some superheroes. There's plenty of them in the comics. They could just be one of them that was working in a team with him. And the Thunderbolts get called the Thunderbolts because General Ross's nickname was Thunderbolt. And Harrison Ford just comes in to take over. He's not General Ross. He's just there as the general, as the lead who controls them, instead of recasting.
Yeah, but I think that would take away from they've built up the character that General Louis Dreyfus plays. Well, that's the one that was in Seinfeld in the 90s, Susan, for like the glazed over look that you were getting. Well,
I didn't watch Seinfeld.
Neither did I, but I just knew who she was from that. Like, she played she was the lead in that show Veep, the kind of presidential, vice presidential show. Again, it's another American thing, but yeah. She's a brilliant actress. Basically, she's a fantastic actress. They've been building this character up, like throughout Phase 4, just kind of teasing it, and with sadly William Hurt passing away, I think there's an opportunity to have her as like a female led person for these Thunderbolt for this Thunderbolts movie, getting a good female lead who's in charge of them all. Basically, like it's Marvel's version of Suicide Squad. So she could be their Amanda Waller, for Marvel. So I think bringing in like an old white guy, essentially people be like, you're replacing a woman who's been building up. You could just see the nerd rage before it even begins. And I've said Harrison Ford's too old for that crap. Leave him be.
How old is he now?
He's like 82, I think.
I was going to go for 105, but yeah.
Ages with me then.
No, not at all, Susan. Not at all. We never reveal a lady's age on this.
Right, okay. With the writers and director leaving the MCU's Blade movie, do you think this is the start of trouble at Marvel Studios?
Well, personally, yes, because there is another question that I had sourced and thinking we need to talk about it. And when I seen the Blade news, I thought this is going to tie in because the other question is about the fact that they've made the Armour Wars series. It was originally going to be a series, into it's now going to be a movie instead of like a Disney Plus commissioned series. The lead character is Don Cheadle, who is also like a black male lead. Blade is a black male lead. There's two. It's the 2 points make a line, not a pattern kind of thing. But I'm very worried with the negative press of DC have received lately. They could potentially be shooting themselves in the foot here because they've built up so much goodwill. All the stuff they're doing with Black Panther, all the stuff they're doing with Wakanda Forever, the trailer for that got dropped. Looks like it's going to be. Looks like I'm going to be greeting my eyes out when I watch it because they'll do a tribute to not only the actor who played the character, but he will be killed off and they're giving him a good send off. So I will be crying my eyes out at it because too young to go. He had such potential. So I don't want that good work that they've done to be squandered by all this infighting and BS. We know what that's like in the industry. Something like that happens and you're like, you become Danny Glover overnight. What do you think, Kev?
I'm seriously worried that they're going to rush it just to push it out. There's been too much things that were rushed. We've seen problems with DC trying to push things out, and Marvel haven't really get into that territory of rushing things out. They've been planning things for a long time, but these things have already been put into a schedule. So they're like, oh, well, we need to get a writer, we need to get a director, we need to start filming by January. And like, this is October now, so they've got like 3-4 months before they're at the deadline where it's like, right, we need to start no matter what we've got.
Yeah.
And they've got a new writer in, but it's going to be a struggle, I think.
Again, like, it's one of the things that when I've been looking at it, well, again, Susan, I know that the industry that we're in is very deadline heavy. You have to hit them, otherwise you are screwed. So I get they are feeling that rush if the writer and the director have both bailed and they're like, okay, we do have a plan, we have a schedule, we have been planning this, we need to keep going with it, because they don't want to wind up in another COVID situation where they have to totally change everything around. So I get it from that side. My concern is, why did they walk in the first place?
Yeah, that's the question, and I don't think we'll get any answers unless they come out and say it was this, this, and this. I mean, the director he's not directing it anymore. He's still on as a producer, so obviously it's something that's not been that bad. It could have been something personal that says, look, I can't give that amount of time to do this.
Yeah,
but I'll stay as the producer, but we need a different director. But the writer walking and then somebody else coming in and having to write it from scratch, that's a bit suspect. It's like, what's going on there? Why do they need a complete rewrite?
Yeah, but didn't they have to do that with Ant-Man as well?
They've done that with Ant-Man.
The director walked. So it can be done. Like, they can switch it around, because we all thought when we saw that news at the time, we all thought, shit, we are so worried. Paul Rudd's one of the nicest people that you could ever see in Hollywood. You don't want his movie to tank. And it was actually, for me, so refreshing. Also because there's a Thomas the Tank Engine scene in it, and I was like, so I was over the moon with that. They had to pay a fortune to Mattel to get that. Again,
they did.
We were talking about with Hasbro and just getting the money. Mattel or like that for the Thomas franchise. I think they had to pay $100,000 up front just to get it's a little Bachmann train, a wee toy train that they've shrunk down and fought on, and then they try to enlarge them again, and it enlarges the train and it bursts through the house. So it's just this Thomas train just about the size of a house, something like that. So don't get me wrong, money well spent in my opinion, but Mattel really had them by the balls for that.
They could have asked for anything.
They really could have. Yeah, should give more money.
I mean, I'm asking all these questions and you're talking about all these different films, and yet the two of you are saying that you're so busy, especially you, Andrew. When do you actually get to watch these films?
I'm getting to the stage where I really think I need to get a USB port put in my brain. And just be like, download. I mean, in my case, it's really just filling in the gaps with things that are going on. Like, if I'm having to look up content anyway for superhero related stuff, it's technically classed as research. I can get away with that. But recently, I will admit, I have barely looked at a TV screen in the last 2.5 months. A lot of it I've just been like, right, look at after the fact, check out some things, do some research, see how it goes. Go look on my own kind of back catalogue of lore to get me through. The advantages of being a very lonely child with no friends and no stable internet connection for porn was brilliant in that sense. So yeah, the knowledge has always been there. It's just now that I actually have a busy life, it's like, hey, I get to do it. But then I rely on Kev.
Well,
through the night, the early hours of the morning.
Usually, if I'm lying awake, I'll just stick a film on my phone, sit and watch that.
The insomnia comes in handy for you at that point. You can catch up on all the things that I miss.
It does. I mean, I watched Thor: Love and Thunder the other night when I couldn't sleep.
On your phone?
On my phone.
Right. What did you think of it?
Honestly, it wasn't as bad as people are making it out to be. There was things that were a bit, why is this in it? It's like, it's in for the sake of a joke, a lot of it. And it's like, well, it's Taika Waititi. That's to be expected. A lot of things are in there just so that he can put something in that he laughs at. Because a lot of the time, the thing's like, well, it's not funny in the context of the film. If it was in the context of something else, it would be fucking hilarious. But this time, it's like save your comedy for your comedy things.
Mm.
But it wasn't terrible.
Do you not realise that laying in bed, watching films on your phone in the early hours of the morning, there's all that blue light and you wonder why you're not sleeping? Mama Sue speaking here. Do not take your phone to bed.
This coming from Mama Sue, who I was messaging at midnight last night after coming off the podcast recording, and you messaged me back. I was just saying, like, you know, what, because I wasn't in a very good headspace. I'm like, I'm doing okay, everything's fine, and it was like instant message back. I'm like, you should not be awake, you should be sleeping.
I was actually setting my alarm on my phone. I was in bed, I was setting the alarm on my phone, and it just went ding. And as I went to press the alarm, you know how sometimes your WhatsApp messages just come up on your screen, the notifications. As I went to touch for the alarm, I touched the WhatsApp thing as well. So, no, I have my phone at the side of the bed, but purely for my alarm. I don't watch it because of the blue light, because it will make me not sleep, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I do have is I have like my phone set for like a do not disturb. Like, so when it gets to 10 o'clock, it goes into a silent mode. Everything shuts down. You can't get me unless I switch it back on. And only because I was doing so much work last night. It was like you had pause for 30 minutes. I must have had it about 3-4 times. Just because I was trying to get things done, and then I'm like, oh shit, I need to get back to a couple of these people before I go to bed. Oh fuck, it's 1 a.m. Alison's gonna kill me. So yeah, it was fun. Alison was looking at me like, when did you go to bed? And I went, you do not want to know the answer to that question. Just let's not start fighting at this time in the morning.
It was before the sun came up.
Yeah, which is getting later anyway now. So
exactly.
Yeah, it worked.
Stop making excuses, boys.
There's no excuses on my end. I just roll with the punches and say, okay.
Okay. Well, that's been very interesting. We've had some interesting conversations. I'm going to go away and nurse my poor little arm.
And there's been, we're not even at the 10-minute warning yet, and we blasted through it.
We did.
In fairness, I thought that me and Kev done well, because when we were on our own, we managed to squeak it with about a minute and a half to spare. You've came in, you've been like, right, okay, we're cracking the whip here, through this, and okay. So now what?
Just try to show us up.
I was trying to finish it dead on 30 minutes, but you've just ruined that. So it's enough for me to say thank you everyone for tuning in. That's Kevin. He's Super. Andrew's Ginger. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.